Today we will recite Flower Dormant Sutra, Pure Conduct, Chapter 11, beginning of Chapter 11, Pure Conduct. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. The unsurpassed, profound, and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in hundreds of millions of eons. I now see and hear it, receive and uphold it, and I vow to fathom the Tathagata's true meaning. Flower Adornment Sutra, Pure Conduct, Chapter 11. At that time, foremost wisdom Bodhisattva inquired of Manjushri Bodhisattva, saying, Disciples of the Buddha, how does a Bodhisattva attain faultless karma of body, speech, and mind? How does he attain non-harming karma of body, speech, and mind? How does he attain unruinable karma of body, speech, and mind? How does he attain indestructible karma of body, speech, and mind? How does he attain non-retreating karma of body, speech, and mind? How does he attain immovable karma of body, speech, and mind? How does he attain the most supreme karma of body, speech, and mind? How does he attain purity of the karma of body, speech, and mind? How does he attain undefiled karma of body, speech, and mind? How does he attain the karma of body, speech, and mind, which takes wisdom as its foremost guide? How does he attain the perfection of a place of birth, the completion of a lineage, the completion of a household, the completion of form, the completion of marks, the completion of mindfulness, the completion of wisdom, the completion of activity, the completion of fearlessness, the completion of enlightenment? How does a Bodhisattva attain supreme wisdom, foremost wisdom, most superior wisdom, most supreme wisdom, boundless wisdom, limitless wisdom, inconceivable wisdom, unequaled wisdom, immeasurable wisdom, ineffable wisdom? How does he attain the power of causes, the power of zeal, the power of experience, the power of conditions, the power of that which is conditioned, the power of his faculties, the power of investigation, the power of shamatha, the power of vipassana, the power of reflection? How does he attain skillfulness with the skandhas, skillfulness with the realms? How does a Bodhisattva attain skillfulness with the places, skillfulness with the arousal of conditions, skillfulness with the desire realm, skillfulness with the form realm, skillfulness with the formless realm, skillfulness with the past, skillfulness with the future, skillfulness with the present? How does a Bodhisattva skillfully cultivate the enlightenment share of mindfulness, the enlightenment share of selecting a dharma, the enlightenment share of vigor, the enlightenment share of joy, the enlightenment share of light ease, the enlightenment share of samadhi, the enlightenment share of renunciation, the state of emptiness, marklessness, and wishlessness? How does a Bodhisattva attain the perfection of dana paramita, shila paramita, shanti paramita, virya paramita, dhyana paramita, prajna paramita, and also the perfection of kindness, compassion, joy, and giving? How does he attain the wisdom power of enlightening to what is and what is not, the wisdom power of knowing the karmic retributions of living beings in the past, present, and future, the wisdom power of knowing the superior and inferior roots of living beings, the wisdom power of knowing the various realms of living beings, the wisdom power of knowing the various understandings of living beings, the wisdom power of knowing the destination of all paths, the wisdom power of knowing the defilement and purity of the dhyanas, liberations, and samadhis,
the wisdom power of the knowledge of past lives,
the wisdom power of heavenly eye, the wisdom power of the ending of all habits. How does a bodhisattva attain the protection, veneration, and offering of heavenly kings, dragon kings, yaksha kings, gandharva kings, asura kings, garuda kings, kinara kings, maharaga kings, human kings, and brahma kings? How does one become the reliance, the salvation, the refuge, the destiny, the torch, the light, the illumination, a guide, a supreme guide, a universal guide for all living beings? How does one become the foremost, the great, the supreme, the most supreme, the wonderful, the ultimately wonderful, the superior, the unsurpassed, the unequaled, doubly unequaled among all living beings? At that time, Manjushri Bodhisattva said to foremost wisdom Bodhisattva, "Good indeed, disciple of the Buddha. Now for the sake of wishing to bring about much benefit for beings, to cause them much peace and security, to take pity on those of the world, to benefit and delight gods and humans, you have asked about such meanings. Disciple of the Buddha, if all Bodhisattvas can skillfully use their minds, they will attain all supreme and wonderful merit and virtue. Among all Buddha Dhammas, their minds will be without any obstruction. They can dwell in the way of all Buddhas of the past, present, and future. They can dwell in accord with living beings, and eternally not renounce or separate from them. With regard to the suchness of the true appearance of all Dhammas, they can completely penetrate and understand. They can cut off all evil and be endowed with all good. They will be like universal worthy who is foremost in his physical appearance. They will be replete with conduct and vows. There is no Dharma with which they do not feel at ease.
They act as the
Second guiding teacher for living beings, disciple of the Buddha. How does one use his mind to attain all the supreme and wonderful merit and virtue? A bodhisattva of the lay life should vow that living beings will realize the empty nature of the household and avoid oppression from it. When I serve my parents in filiality, I vow that living beings will serve the Buddha skillfully and protect and nourish everything. When I get along with my wife, I vow that living beings will treat enemy and friend equally and depart forever from the attachments of greed. When I obtain the 5 desires, I vow that living beings will pull out the arrow of desire and attain ultimate peace and security. When I am in a musical gathering or among songstresses, I vow that living beings will use Dharma as their enjoyment and understand those talents are not real. When I am in a place or a house, I vow that living beings will enter into a sage's ground and entirely eradicate filthy desires. When I wear a necklace of precious gems, I vow that living beings will renounce all false ornaments and reach the true and actual place. When I ascend a tower, I vow that living beings will ascend the tower of proper Dharma and clearly see through everything. When I have something to give, I vow that living beings will be able to renounce everything and be without any love or attachment in their minds. In a gathering of multitudes and assemblies, I vow that living beings will renounce the multiplicity of dharmas and accomplish all wisdom. When in suffering and difficulty, I vow that living beings will do as they wish and attain self-ease, so that whatever they do will not be obstructed. When I renounce the household, I vow that living beings will leave the home life without any obstruction and attain liberation in their minds. When I enter into the Sangharama, I vow that living beings will proclaim all kinds of dharmas and be without the dharmas of the error of contention. When I visit senior or junior teachers, I vow that living beings will skillfully serve their teachers and elders and practice wholesome dharmas. When I request permission to leave the home life, I vow that living beings will attain non-retreating dharmas and be without any obstruction in their minds. When I cast off my worldly clothes, I vow that living beings will diligently cultivate good roots and renounce all offenses and obstructions. When shaving my head, I vow that living beings will forever depart from afflictions and achieve ultimately still extinction. When I don the sash, I vow that living beings will not have defilement in their minds, but will complete the way of the great immortal. Having actually left the home life, I vow that living beings will leave the home life with the Buddha and save and protect all. In taking refuge with the Buddha, I vow that living beings will continue and propagate the Buddha's lineage and bring forth the unsurpassed intent. In taking refuge with the Dharma, I vow that living beings will deeply enter the Sutra treasury and have wisdom like the sea. In taking refuge with the Sangha, I vow that living beings will unite and lead the great assembly, all without obstruction. When receiving and learning precepts, I vow that living beings will skillfully learn precepts and not do the multitude of evils. When receiving the Acharya's teaching, I vow that living beings will be complete with the awesome deportments and be true in what they do. When receiving the teaching from a great monk, I vow that living beings will enter the wisdom of non-production and reach the location of non-reliance. When receiving the complete precepts, I vow that living beings will be endowed with all experience and attain the most supreme Dharma. When entering the hall, I vow that living beings will enter the unsurpassed hall and dwell peacefully in unmovingness. When spreading out the bed sheet, I vow that living beings will open and unfold wholesome dharmas and see the true mark. When sitting upright and proper, I vow that living beings will sit on the Bodhi seat and be without any attachments in their minds. When sitting in the full lotus posture, I vow that living beings will have solid good roots and attain the ground of unmoving. When cultivating samadhi, I vow that living beings will subdue their minds with samadhi and be ultimately without residue. When cultivating contemplation, I vow that living beings will see through principle as it truly is and eternally be without unreasonable contention. When coming out of the lotus posture, I vow that living beings will contemplate all dharmas of activity as entirely returning to dispersal and extinction. When putting down my legs, I vow that living beings will attain liberation in their minds and peacefully dwell in unmovingness. As I lift up my foot, I vow that living beings will leave the sea of birth and death and be replete with wholesome dharmas. As I put on my lower garments, I vow that living beings will be clothed in good roots and be complete with shame and remorse.
When straightening my clothes and fastening my belt, I vow
that
that living
living
beings
beings
will
will
gather in and bind
under
up
their
their good
roots
roots.
and not let them become scattered or lost. As I put on upper garments, I vow that living beings will attain superior good roots and reach the other shore of Dharma. When putting on the Sanghati, I vow that living beings will enter into the foremost position and attain the unmoving Dharma. As my hand holds my toothbrush, I vow that living beings will completely attain wonderful Dharma and be ultimately pure. When I brush my teeth, I vow that living beings will be harmonious and pure in mind and bite through all afflictions. As I go to the toilet, I vow that living beings will cast out greed, hatred, and stupidity and cleanse themselves of offense dharmas. When I use water, I vow that living beings will quickly reach transcendental dharmas. When I wash away the body's filth, I vow that living beings will be pure, regulated, and compliant, and ultimately without defilement. As I use this water to wash my hands, I vow that living beings will have clean hands to receive and uphold the Buddha Dharma. As I use water to wash my face, I vow that living beings will attain pure Dharma dose and be eternally without defilement. As I hold the 10th step, I vow that living beings will establish assemblies of great giving and reveal the way of true suchness.
As I hold the vessel, I vow that living beings will become Dharma vessels and receive the offerings of gods and people. When I take the first step in cultivating the way,
I vow that living beings will tend toward the conduct of the Buddhas and enter the place of non-reliance. When traveling on a path, I vow that living beings will walk on the Buddha path and tend toward the Dharma of non-residue. While walking on the road, I vow that living beings will enter the pure Dharma realm and be without obstruction in their minds. When ascending a steep path, I vow that living beings will eternally transcend the three realms and be without fear or timidity in their minds. When going downhill on the road, I vow that living beings will be humble and respectful in their minds and increase in the Buddha's good rules. When I walk on a standing and crooked path, I vow that living beings will renounce the improper way and eternally eradicate evil views. When I see a straight road, I vow that living beings will become proper and straight in their minds and be without flattery or deceit. When I see a dusty road, I vow that living beings will get far apart from dust and attain the pure Dharma. When I see a road that is free from dust, I vow that living beings will always cultivate great compassion and be moistened and nourished in their minds. When I see a dangerous road, I vow that living beings will dwell in the proper Dharma realm and separate from all offenses and difficulty. As I see a multitude assembled, I vow that living beings will proclaim the profound Dharma and be harmonious with all. When I see a huge pillar, I vow that living beings will depart from the mind of self and dispute and be without rage or hatred. When I see a forest, I vow that living beings will become worthy of respect and veneration by all gods and people. When I see a high mountain, I vow that living beings will have such transcendent good roots that none can reach their summit. When I see a thorny bush, I vow that living beings will quickly cut off and eradicate the thorn of the three poisons. When I see the luxuriant foliage on trees, I vow that living beings will become liberated through concentration and act as a shelter. When I see blossoming flowers, I vow that living beings will attain spiritual penetrations and similar dharmas, just as a flower blooms. When I see a blossoming tree, I vow that living beings will attain all the characteristics of a flower and be replete with the 32 marks. When I see a fruit, I vow that living beings will attain the most supreme Dharma and certify to the way of Bodhi. When I see a great river, I vow that living beings will enter the flow of Dharma and step into the sea of the Buddha's wisdom. When I see a swamp, I vow that living beings will quickly enlighten to all Buddha's single flavor of Dharma. When I see a pond or a lake, I vow that living beings will perfect their speech karma and become skillful at speaking. When I see a well, I vow that living beings will be complete with eloquence to proclaim all dharmas. When I see a bubbling spring, I vow that living beings will increase and grow in expedient devices and that their gurus become inexhaustible. When I see a bridge crossing, I vow that living beings will expansively cross over all and act as a bridge. When I see flowing water, I vow that living beings will attain the aspiration toward wholesome intent and wash out the filth of delusion. When I see a person cultivate a garden, I vow that living beings will hoe out the weeds of love from the garden of the 5 desires. When I see an untroubled forest, I vow that living beings will forever separate from greed and love and not produce grief and terror. When I see a garden, I vow that living beings will diligently cultivate all conducts and tend toward the Buddha's Bodhi. When I see a person adorned with ornaments, I vow that living beings will take the 32 marks as their wonderful adornments. When I see a person who is devoid of any adorning ornaments, I vow that living beings will renounce all fine ornaments and be complete with Buddha practices. When I see a person attached to happiness, I vow that living beings will use the Dharma as self-enjoyment, delight in it and never renounce it. When I see a person who is without the attachment to happiness, I vow that living beings' minds will not take pleasure in conditioned events. When I see a happy person, I vow that living beings will always attain peace and bliss and delight in making offerings to the Buddhas. When I see a person undergoing suffering and afflictions, I vow that living beings will attain basic wisdom to extinguish and eradicate all sufferings. When I see a healthy person, I vow that living beings will enter true and actual wisdom and forever be without sickness and affliction. When I see a sick person, I vow that living beings will realize their bodies are empty and extinct, and depart from the dharma of contention. When I see an upright and proper person, I vow that living beings will always produce pure faith toward the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. When I see an ugly person, I vow that living beings will not produce delight and attachment towards unwholesome affairs. When I see a person who repays kindness, I vow that living beings will be able to understand the virtue of the kindness of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. When I see a person who turns his back on kindness, I vow that living beings will not redouble their revenge on evil people. When I see a Shramana, I vow that living beings will become subdued, gentle, still, and quiet. And ultimately, foremost, when I see a Brahmin, I vow that living beings will forever uphold Brahma conduct and depart from all evil.
When I see a person who engages in ascetic practices, I vow that living beings will rely on ascetic practices and arrive at the ultimate place. When I see
a person with integrity, I vow that living beings will maintain their resolve with determination and not renounce the Buddha way. When I see a person dressed in armor, I vow that living beings will always be equipped with the armor of goodness and will tend toward the Dharma that requires no teacher. When I see a person who is not equipped with armor or weaponry, I vow that living beings will forever depart from all unwholesome karma. When I see a person who engages in dispute and argument, I vow that living beings will completely subdue all kinds of heterodox debates. When I see a person who has proper livelihood, I vow that living beings will attain pure livelihoods and not feign awesome deportment. When I see a king, I vow that living beings will become Dharma kings and forever propagate the proper Dharma. When I see a prince, I vow that living beings will get born by transformation from the Dharma and become disciples of the Buddha. When I see an elder, I vow that living beings will skillfully be able to make clear distinctions and not practice evil dharmas. When I see a great official, I vow that living beings will eternally guard their proper mindfulness and learn to practice the multitude of wholesome deeds. When I see a city and city ramparts, I vow that living beings will attain the solid body and be without deviousness in their minds. When I see a capital city, I vow that living beings will accumulate a multitude of merit and virtue and eternally be joyous and happy in their minds. When I see a coppice of trees, I vow that living beings will be worthy of praise and respect from gods and people. When I enter a village to beg for food, I vow that living beings will deeply enter the profound Dharma realm without any obstruction in their minds. When I reach the door of a residence, I vow that living beings will enter the door of all Buddha Dharmas. When I enter a residence, I vow that living beings will get to enter the Buddha vehicle and be equal in the 3 periods of time. When I see a person who doesn't give, I vow that living beings will never renounce or depart from the Dharma of superior merit and virtue.
When I see a person capable of renouncing, I vow that living beings will forever attain the renunciation of the sufferings of the 3 evil paths.
When I see an empty bowl, I vow that living beings will be clean and pure in mind, empty and without affliction. When I see a full bowl, I vow that living beings will completely perfect and fulfill all wholesome dharmas. When I receive veneration and respect, I vow that living beings will reverently and respectfully cultivate all Buddha dharmas. When I don't receive reverence and respect, I vow that living beings will not practice the many unwholesome dharmas. When I see a person with a sense of shame and remorse, I vow that living beings will become endowed with the conduct of shame and remorse and store and protect all their faculties. When I see one who is shameless and without remorse, I vow that living beings will renounce and depart from shamelessness and dwell in the way of great kindness. When I obtain delicious food, I vow that living beings will fulfill their vows and be without envy in their minds. When I obtain food which is not delicious, I vow that Among living beings there are none who will not attain the flavors of all samadhis. When I obtain soft food, I vow that living beings will be permeated by great compassion, so their minds and intentions are supple and soft. When I obtain coarse and rough food, I vow that living beings will have no defiled attachments in their minds and cut off worldly greed and love. When there is food to eat, I vow that living beings will take jhana bliss as food and be filled with the joy of Dharma. When I taste flavor, I vow that living beings will obtain the Buddha's flavor and be satisfied with sweet dew. When I finish the food, I vow that living beings will finish what they should do and be replete with all Buddha Dharma. When I speak the Dharma, I vow that living beings will attain limitless eloquence and pervasively proclaim the essential Dharma.
When I come out of the house,
I vow that living beings will deeply enter into the Buddha's wisdom and transcend the three realms forever. When I enter the water, I vow that living beings will enter all wisdom and understand the equality of the three periods of time. When I bathe my body, I vow that living beings will have no defilements in their bodies and minds and will be bright and clean inside and out. In the midst of the blazing and poisonous heat of summer, I vow that living beings will renounce and depart from all afflictions and completely put an end to them. When the summer is over and the cool season begins to set in, I vow that living beings will certify to the unsurpassed Dharma and be ultimately clean and cool. When I recite sutras, I vow that living beings will accord with what the Buddha says and unite with and uphold it without forgetting any. When I get to see the Buddha, I vow that living beings will attain unobstructed eyes and behold all Buddhas. When I gaze upon the Buddha, I vow that living beings will all resemble universal worthy Bodhisattva and become upright, adorned and majestic. When I see a stupa, I vow that living beings will be as respected as the stupa and receive offerings from gods and people. When I contemplate a stupa with respectful mind, I vow that living beings will be gazed upon and revered by all gods and people. When I make obeisance before a stupa, I vow that living beings will attain a summit that cannot be seen by gods or people. As I circumambulate a stupa to the right, I vow that living beings will not encounter adversities in their practices and will accomplish all wisdom. When I circumambulate a stupa 3 times, I vow that living beings will diligently seek the Buddha way without thoughts of laziness or rest. When I praise the Buddha's merit and virtue, I vow that living beings will be replete with a host of virtues and will laud and praise without end. When I praise the Buddha's marks and characteristics,
I vow that
living beings will accomplish the Buddha's body and certify to the Dhamma of no mark. When I wash my feet, I vow that living beings will be fully endowed with complete spiritual power and be without any obstructions wherever they go. When it's time to sleep and rest, I vow that living beings will obtain peace and security in their bodies and not be moved or confused in their minds. When I awake from sleep, I vow that living beings will enlighten to all wisdom and have a vision that spans the 10 directions. Disciples of the Buddha, if all the Bodhisattvas formulate their thoughts in these ways, they will attain all supreme and wonderful merit and virtue. In all worlds, they will not be moved by all the gods, demons, brahmas, shamanas, brahmins, gandharvas, asuras, and so forth. All the sound hearers and those enlightened to conditions also cannot move them.
End of chapter.
End of chapter 11.
Conduct.
Namo Sammanto Motona Apolati Hatacha.
No mantra. Go to praise. Oh, no.
Mantra and then praise.
Okay.
You will end. Namo Sammanto Motona Apolati Hatacha Janari Nachini Chiri Tantakata Namo Vashanti Palati Uttamata Tantakata Namo Pada Jacharani and Chini Chini Danta Katana Mawa Sante Palati Vuda Vuda Danta Katana Mawa Hong Ha Soha. Praise for the second assembly. In the universal bright light palace, the great Dharma is widely proclaimed. The Tathagata's names are vast and boundless. The meanings of the Four Truths are subtle and profound. The Dharma torch eternally shines, a universal offering before the Dharma King. Dedication of merit. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward, may all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. We will have a special dedication. We dedicate the merit to the approval of the height variance for the Wonderful Enlightenment Buddhist Institute at the public hearing. Three bows. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Namo Da Fa Guang Fo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa
we're going to recite chapter 13, 14, and if we have time, and we will carry on with chapter 16. Chapter 13 and chapter 14 will be using the textbooks, and the Sutra text is only the dark pages. Okay, they have the dark pages only, so they are very short. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. The unsurpassed, profound and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in hundreds or millions of eons. I now see and hear it, receive and uphold it, and I vow to fathom the Tathagata's true meaning. Flower Adornment Sutra, ascend to the summit of Mount Sutra, Chapter 13. At that time, due to the thus come one's majestic spiritual power, in all the world system of the 10 directions, beings in the Jambudvipa, in every settled 4 continents, could see thus come one seated beneath the tree. Accompanying each of them were bodhisattvas who relied on the Buddha's spiritual power and proclaimed the Dharma. Every being considered himself to be constantly in the presence of the Buddha. At that time, the well-honored one, without departing from beneath all the Bodhi trees, ascended Mount Sumeru and approached the palace of Lord Chakra. Celestial Lord Chakra, who was in front of his wondrous splendid palace, saw the Buddha coming from afar. He immediately used his spiritual powers to adorn this palace and set up a universal light treasury lion throne. That throne was entirely made out of wondrous gems. 10,000 terraces adorned it to the ultimate. 10,000 golden nets covered it from above. 10,000 kinds of curtains and 10,000 kinds of canopies encircled it in orderly array. 10,000 silken fabrics were draped upon it. 10,000 pearl necklaces everywhere interlaced. 10,000 garments were suspended about the throne. 10,000 gods and 10,000 Brahmakas surrounded it, in front and behind. 10,000 lights illuminated it. When Lord Chakra had arranged the throne for the thus come one, he made a half bow, joined his palms, reverently faced the Buddha and said, "Welcome, well-honored one, welcome, well-gone one, welcome, thus come one, worthy one of proper enlightenment. I only pray that the Buddha will pity us and stay in this palace." At that time, the well-honored one accepted his invitation and entered the wondrous splendid palace. In all the worlds throughout the 10 directions, this happened exactly the same way. Then for Lord Chakra, due to the Buddha's spiritual powers, all the music in the palace spontaneously ceased. He himself recalled how in the presence of past Buddhas, he had established all kinds of wholesome foundations in the Dharma, and so he spoke in words. Chap, thus come one, has great compassion. There is nothing more auspicious than this. That Buddha once entered this palace, therefore his place is most auspicious. Kanaka Muni, Buddha's vision is unobstructed. There is nothing more auspicious than this. That Buddha once entered this palace, therefore this place is most auspicious. Krakuchana Buddha is like a golden mountain. There is nothing more auspicious than this. The Buddha once entered this palace, therefore this place is most auspicious. Vishwabu Buddha is free from the 3 defilements. There is nothing more auspicious than this. The Buddha once entered this palace, therefore this place is most auspicious. Seeking thus come one
is free from discrimination.
There is nothing more auspicious than this. The Buddha once entered this palace, therefore this place is most auspicious. Vipassana
Buddha resembles the full moon.
There is nothing more auspicious than this. The Buddha once entered this palace, therefore this place is most auspicious. Pushya Buddha has fathomed the foremost truth. There is nothing more auspicious than this. The Buddha once entered this palace, therefore this place is most auspicious. Taranabhashya, thus come one, has unobstructed eloquence. There is nothing more auspicious than this. The Buddha once entered this palace, therefore this place is most auspicious. Padma Buddha is immaculately pure. There is nothing more auspicious than this. The Buddha once entered this palace, therefore this place is most auspicious.
Thus common is radiantly bright. There is nothing more auspicious than this.
That Buddha once entered this palace, therefore this place is most auspicious. Just as the Lord of the Trial Stream Shark Heaven is the Taurus virtues of the Buddhas, so 10 Buddhas, so too did the heavenly Lord Shark one entered the wondrous splendid palace and sat in full lotus. That palace certainly expanded until it was spacious enough to accommodate all the celebrations. Ascent to the summit. This is the end of chapter 13. We go to chapter 14. It doesn't have the page, but it's the next section of the dark pages. Praises at the summit of Mount Subaru, chapter 14. At that time, due to the Buddha's spiritual power, in each of the 10 directions, a great bodhisattva, accompanied by bodhisattva as numerous as dust motes in a Buddha land, traveling from worlds beyond countries as numerous as the dust motes in 100 Buddha lands, came and joined the assembly. Their names were Dharma, wisdom, Bodhisattva, all wisdom Bodhisattva, superior wisdom Bodhisattva, meritorious wisdom Bodhisattva, vigorous wisdom Bodhisattva, wholesome wisdom Bodhisattva, knowledgeable wisdom Bodhisattva, true wisdom Bodhisattva, unsurpassed wisdom Bodhisattva, and solid wisdom Bodhisattva. They came from the Indra flower world, the Padma flower world, the Jewel flower world, the Upala flower world, the Vajra flower world, the wondrous fragrance flower world, the delightful flower world, the Aruna Kamala flower world, the Naradhara flower world, and the empty space flower world. Each of them had clearly cultivated the Brahma conduct in the presence of a Buddha. The names of the Buddhas were Extraordinary Moon Buddha, Inexhaustible Moon Buddha, Unmoving Moon Buddha, Wind Moon Buddha, Water Moon Buddha, Liberation Moon Buddha, Unsurpassed Moon Buddha, Constellation Moon Buddha, Pure Moon Buddha, and Bright Understanding Moon Buddha. Arriving at the Buddha's place, these bodhisattvas bow at the Buddha's feet, each one in the direction from which he came, created a Vajrayana treasury lion throne, and sat upon it in full lotus.
Just as the bodhisattvas assembled on the summit of Mount Sumeru in this world,
it was the same way in all worlds. The names of the bodhisattvas, their worlds, and the Buddhas were all the same. At that time, the World-Honored One emitted a trillion splendidly colored lights from his toes, illuminating all the worlds in the 10 directions, so that the Buddhas and assemblies in the palaces of Lok Shokra on the Mahashurus could all be seen. Then Dharma, wisdom, Bodhisattva, relying on the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplated the 10 directions and spoke in verse as the Buddha radiates pure, clear light. The teacher of the world is seen by all, dwelling in wondrous splendid palace on the peak of Sumuru, the king of mountains. All the celestial Lok chakras invite the Buddha into their palaces. They all use 10 wonderful verses to praise the thus come ones. In those great assemblies, all the multitudes of the bodhisattvas, arriving from the 10 directions, created thrones and sat upon them.
all the bodhisattvas in those assemblies have the same name as I.
The worlds from which they come are also of the same name. The well-honored ones of their lands have the same name as well. In the presence of their Buddhas, they cultivated unsurpassed pure conduct. Disciples of the Buddhas, you should contemplate the sovereign power of the thus come ones. Those in every Jagamipa say that the Buddha is among them. All of us now see the Buddha dwelling on the summit of Sumeru. Throughout the 10 directions, it is also thus due to the sovereign power of the thus come ones. In each and every world, they resolve to seek the Buddha path. Relying upon paths such as these, they cultivate the conduct of Bodhi. The Buddha takes on various bodies and travels pervasively to all worlds. Nothing in the Dharma realm could hinder him. He cannot be fathomed by anyone. His wisdom light constantly shines everywhere. He dispels darkness in all worlds. Unequaled is he without peer. How could anyone know him? Then all wisdom bodhisattva, relying on the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplated the 10 directions and spoke in verse. Suppose for hundreds of thousands of eons one always sees the thus come one, but does not rely upon the genuine truth in contemplating the world safer. Such a person grasps at appearances and expends the net of ignorance and delusion, trapped and bound in the jail of birth and death, blind and unclear, he cannot see the Buddha. Contemplate all dharmas as being devoid of an inherent nature. The same is true of their arising and cessation. False names are merely used to describe them. All dharmas do not come into being. All dharmas do not cease to exist. If one can understand in this way, then the Buddha always appears before one. Dharmas are basically empty and still in nature. They cannot be grasped or seen. The emptiness of the nature is just the Buddha. It cannot be thought about or considered. If one knows that all dharmas are like this in their nature, such a person will not be defiled by afflictions. When ordinary people see all dharmas, they are merely turned by appearances. Never fathom that dharmas are devoid of appearances. They do not see the Buddha. Muni has transcended the 3 periods of time with the hallmarks fully perfected. He dwells in non-dwelling and pervades all places without moving. I have contemplated all dharmas and am clear about them all. As I know, now behold the thus come one. I have absolutely no doubts. Dharma wisdom has already spoken of the thus come one's true nature. From him I have understood how inconceivable Bodhi is. Then superior wisdom Bodhisattva, relying on the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplated the 10 directions and spoke in words.
The thus come one's great wisdom is rare and fearless. All the beings in the world may reflect on it, yet fail to reach it.
Ordinary beings perceive things through false thoughts, grasp at marks, and fail to accord with principle. The Buddha renounces every mark, yet ordinary beings fail to understand this. Confused, deluded fools grasp in vain at the 5 skandhas. They fail to understand their true nature. Such people do not see the Buddha. One should know all dharmas lack any intrinsic nature whatsoever. One who understands the nature of dharmas thus shall immediately behold Nishyata. By virtue of 5 skandhas, some come before, successive skandhas follow and arise. One who understands their nature sees the Buddha's inconceivability, just as a jewel in the dark cannot be seen without a lamp. If no one speaks the Buddha Dharma, none perceives the wisdom that exists, or as a film that blinds the eyes, keeps unseen the pure, wondrous form, so to a mind that is unclear, cannot discern the Dharma of all Buddhas, just as those who are blind cannot see the bright pure sun, so too the ones bereft of wisdom in their minds will never see the Buddhas. If one dispels the film upon their eyes and casts off form and thinking, and sees no Dharma whatsoever, then one may see the thus come one. All wisdom was first to speak about all Buddhas, Dharmas, or enlightenment. From him I heard the teaching and gained the chance to see Nishanta. Then meritorious wisdom Bodhisattva, relying on the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplated the 10 directions and spoke in verse. Dharmas have no true reality, but we mistakenly attach to marks as real, and thus all ordinary people spin about within the jail of birth and death. Those of pretty wisdom differentiate in vain. The Dharma that's expressed in words, they thus become obstructed and do not understand their minds. They fail to understand their minds. How can they know the proper path? It's from such muddled wisdom that unwholesome views proliferate. Since they fail to see the emptiness of dharmas, they always feel the pain of birth and death. Such people are not yet able to use the pure and clear Dharma eye. In ages past, I suffered much woe because I didn't see the Buddha, so I must purify the Dharma eye to feel what I should feel. If a person sees the Buddha with a mind that does not grasp, this person then can see the Dharma that the Buddha knows. One who sees the Buddha's actual Dharma is named one of great wisdom. Such a person has pure eyes and is able to observe the world. Not seeing anything is just seeing, being able to discern all dharmas. Yet if one sees any dharma, then that is not true seeing. The underlying nature of all dharmas neither comes to be nor ceases to exist. Amazing is the lofty guiding teacher who enlightens both himself and others. Superior wisdom has already spoken of the Dharma awakened to by the thus come one. Now that we have heard from him, we understand the Buddha's true nature. Then vigorous wisdom Bodhisattva rely on the Buddha's awesome spiritual power. Universally contemplated the 10 directions and spoke in words to dwell upon discriminating thoughts is detrimental to our pure, clear eye. Delusions grow, wrong views increase, and one will never see the Buddhas.
If we can recognize wrong dharmas, we will not be confused regarding truth. Aware that falseness comes from truth, we see the Buddha as pure and clear.
Ordinary seeing is defiled, for it is not truly seeing. Standing apart from any view, one can then perceive the Buddhas. All the languages of the world are falsely discriminated by sentient beings. If one knows that nothing in the world comes into being, then one sees the world the way it really is. If one sees the world through that faculty of sight, then one perceives that its attributes are mundane. Yet those attributes are not different from true reality. This is known as having genuine faculty of sight. If one views all objects as identical, undifferentiated, and does not make discriminations among them, then one's vision is free from delusion and without outflows. One attains self-mastery. Of all the differentiated dharmas revealed and taught by all the Buddhas, none can be attained, for in their nature they are pure. The Dharma's nature is fundamentally clear and pure, devoid of attributes, just like the void. None of it can be expressed in words. Thus do the wise ones contemplate. If one avoids the thoughts or dharmas and does not delight in any dharma, and has nothing left to cultivate, one can then behold great winning. As meritorious wisdom said before, this defines one who sees the Buddhas. Each and every practice is in nature tranquil and quiescent. Then good
wisdom Bodhisattva,
relying on the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplated the 10 directions and spoke in verse. Rare is the great valor and vigor of the numberless. Thus come ones immaculate with liberated minds, who save themselves, save others. I see the Lamb of all the world, the embodiment of true reality. Without confusion through countless eons he is thus. Cultivators of wisdom share this vision. Of all the deeds of ordinary beings, none are not ephemeral. Yet since their nature is like empty space, one could say their nature has no end. The wise ones speak of it as endless. Yet nothing can be said in fact, because the inherent nature has no end. To imagine such a state is difficult. Within this so-called endlessness, there are no sentient beings. One who understands all beings' natures thus can gaze upon the one of great renown. Though there is no seeing, we speak of seeing. Though there are no beings, we speak of beings. Whether it is seeing or whether it is being, one knows they lack reality and substance. The faculty of seeing and the object that is seen, when one dispenses with these concepts, the true Dharma is left intact, unharmed. Such a person understands the Buddha. If a person understands the Buddha and the Dharma that the Buddha speaks, that person can elevate the world just as Nishyana, the one of enlightenment, explains well. the path of purity to the one Dharma, the great law of vigorous wisdom, has expounded countless dharmas, existence, non-existence, all such thoughts are cast aside. One thus can see the Buddha and dwell in reality's realm. Then knowledgeable wisdom bodhisattva, relying on the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplated the 10 directions and spoke in verse. Having heard the excellent teaching, I thus gave rise to wisdom's light. It shines throughout the 10 directions realm, making visible each and every Buddha. Not the slightest thing exists, there are only false names. To postulate as self and others is to enter a dangerous path. Ordinary people with their clinging attachments assume that the body is real. The thus one does not cling to anything, hence they never see him. Such people lack the wisdom eye, they cannot behold the Buddha. Throughout the course of countless eons, they drift upon the sea of birth and death. Contention is said to be birth and death, while non-contention is nirvana. Neither birth and death nor nirvana can actually be apprehended. A person who pursues false names and claims to these two dharmas does not understand absolute reality, nor does he know the wondrous path of sages.
A person who harbors the notion, this Buddha is most excellent, is deluded, knows not the truth, and cannot see the one of proper enlightenment.
One who understands the essence of reality, the still quiescent or true suchness, thus sees the honor one of proper enlightenment and transcends the realm of language. All the Dharma that is verbally expressed cannot reveal the true reality. Only with equanimity can one see it. The Dharma is thus, and likewise the Buddhas, the ones of proper enlightenment of the past, present, and future, eternally severed discrimination's roots. Thus they are known as Buddhas. Then true wisdom bodhisattva, relying on the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplated 10 directions and spoke in verse. I would rather suffer in the hells and get to hear the Buddha's names than enjoy boundless happiness and not hear the Buddha's name. For countless eons in the past I suffered misery and woe, and drifted aimlessly in birth and death, due to not having heard the Buddha's name. Undilutedly by dharmas, one realizes absolute reality. To separate from all compounded phenomena is called unsurpassed enlightenment, not compounded in the present, nor in the past or future. All dharmas are devoid of characteristics such as the true substance of the Buddha. If in this way one contemplates the meaning of all dharmas, so deep and profound, then one can see all Buddhas and the true appearance of the Dharma body, seeing what is true as true, seeing what is not true as not true. Such ultimate understanding is the reason for the name of Buddha. The Buddha Dharma cannot be realized. Understanding this is called realizing the Dharma. All Buddhas cultivate in this way, not a single Dharma exists. Know that the one brings about the many, and the many brings about the one. Dharmas are not based upon anything, but arise from a combination of factors. There is no creator or creation. Things arise from thoughts and karma. How do we know this to be true? There is no other explanation. All Dharma dwell nowhere and have no fixed location. The Buddhas dwell within this day, ultimately steadfast and unmoving. The unsurpassed wisdom bodhisattva, relying on the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplated the 10 directions and spoke in verse. Unsurpassed Mahasattva is far removed from sentient beings' thoughts. There are none who excel him, hence he is titled unsurpassed. The states attained by all Buddhas is gained without effort or discrimination. The cause aspect do not exist. and neither do the subtle. The states of the Buddha's practice transcend the realm of faith. Proper enlightenment is apart from faith. This is the Buddha's genuine Dharma. The thus come one's light illumines all, dispelling gloom and darkness, yet this light neither shines nor does not shine. Toward the Dharma he unattached, free of thought and undefiled, dwelling nowhere, having no location. The Dharma nature is unimpeded. In all that is, there's no duality, nor is there a single thing. The greatly wiser keen discernment abide at ease within this truth. Within non-existence there is no duality, nor is there the absence of duality. The three realms are entirely empty. This is the Buddha's understanding.
Ordinary people, confused and unenlightened, by the Buddha's guidance come to dwell in proper Dharma, yet the Dharma itself dwells nowhere. One who thus awakens thereby sees oneself.
There is no body, yet a body is spoken of. There's no arising, yet arising is manifested. The absence of a body and of seeing is the Buddha and Surfa's body. True wisdom has described the Buddha's wonderful Dharma nature. One who hears this Dharma will attain the pure, clear eye.
Then solid wisdom
Bodhisattva, relying on the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplated the 10 directions and spoke in verse. How magnificent is the radiance of the valiant and surpassed Lord. In order to benefit the deluded masses, he appears in the world. The Buddha, with a heart of great compassion, universally observes all sentient beings. He sees them in the triple realms, suffering in samsara's wheel. The sage of proper equal enlightenment alone is perfect in virtue. A venerated guide and teacher, none of the beings in all the heavens can be a savior and protector like him. If sages like the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas did not appear within the world, not a single sentient being would gain happiness and peace. The thus come ones of proper equal enlightenment and the multitudes of worthy sages show themselves within the world, giving happiness to sentient beings. If one wishes to behold the thus come ones in order to gain one just benefit, and one hears the Buddha's names and evinces faith, one will be a tower for the world. We wish to see the well-honored one, so as to gain great benefits. Those who hear this wonderful Dharma shall all attain the Buddha path. In the past, all these Bodhisattvas, by the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, attained a pure, clear wisdom eye and understood the Buddha's states. Now we see it, Nishyanta, and our pure faith has redoubled. The Buddha's boundless wisdom can never be completely expressed. Superior wisdom and the other Bodhisattvas and I, solid wisdom, through countless millions of eons, could never fully express it either. End of chapter 14. Now we're going on to chapter 16. Flower Adornment Sutra, Brahma Kanda, chapter 16. At that time, the godson proper mindfulness said to Dharma wisdom Bodhisattva, disciple of the Buddha, in all worlds the multitudes of Bodhisattvas rely on the thus come one's teaching, don the dark robes and live the home life. How do they attain the purity of Brahma contact and from the position of a Bodhisattva? Further ascend to the unsurpassed Bodhi way. Dharma wisdom Bodhisattva said, disciple the Buddha, when the Bodhisattva Mahasava cultivates Brahma contact, he should use 10 dharmas as his base or thoughts and formulate the intention and contemplate them. That is to say, body karma, speech karma, thought karma, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, and the precepts he should contemplate in this way. Is the body Brahma conduct up to and including other precepts of Brahma conduct? If the body were Brahma conduct, then we should know that this Brahma conduct would not be good, would not be Dharma, that it would be turbid, stinking and evil and impure, that it would be disgusting, rebellious, mixed and defiled, and it would be a dead corpse and would be a clump of worms. If body karma were Brahma conduct, then walking, standing, sitting and lying down, looking left and looking right, bending and extending, looking up and looking down would be Brahma conduct.
If speech were
Brahma conduct, then Brahma conduct would be voice and breath, chest, tongue, throat and lips, expulsion, retraction, contraction and release, loudness and softness, clarity and indistinctness. If speech karma were Brahma conduct, then Brahma conduct would be compliments and inquiries, generalizations and elaborations, metaphorical speech and direct speech, speech in praise and slanderous speech, hypothetical speech, speech adapted to the world, and evident speech. If the mind were Brahma conduct, the Brahma conduct would have to be perception, observation, discrimination, various kinds of discrimination, recollection, various kinds of recollections, consideration, various kinds of considerations, illusion and slumber and dreams. If my karma were Brahma conduct, then one should know the Brahma conduct would be thoughts and feeling cold or hot, hungry or thirsty, miserable or happy, worried or pleased. If the Buddha were Brahma conduct, then would form be the Buddha, would feeling be the Buddha, would thinking be the Buddha, would formation be the Buddha, would consciousness be the Buddha, would the marks be the Buddha, would the characteristic be the Buddha, would spiritual penetration be the Buddha, would karmic deeds be the Buddha, would fruitions and rewards be the Buddha. If the Dharma were Dharma conduct, then would still extinction be the Dharma, would Nirvana be the Dharma, would non-production be the Dharma, would non-arisal be the Dharma, would ineffectibility be the Dharma, would non-acting be the Dharma, would non-assemblage be the Dharma, would non-according be the Dharma, would non-attainment be the Dharma. If the Sangha were Brahma conduct, then would the progression towards a stream winner be the Sangha? Would the future stream winner be the Sangha? Would the progression towards one's returner be the Sangha? Would the future one's returner be the Sangha? Would the progression towards never returner be the Sangha?
Would the fruit of
Never returner be the Sangha? Would the progression towards Arhat be the Sangha? Would the fruit of Arhat be the Sangha? Would the three qualities be the Sangha? Would the six penetration be the Sangha? If the precepts were Brahman conduct, then would the platform area be the precepts? Would the questioning about purity be the precepts? Would the teaching of the awesome department be the precepts? Would the three karma vachana pronouncements be the precepts? Would the upadhyaya be the precepts? Would the acharyas be the precepts? Would the shaving of the head be the precepts? Would donning the kashaya shas be the precepts? Would begging for food be the precepts? Would proper livelihood be the precepts? After contemplating in this way, do not grasp at the body, do not grasp at cultivation, and do not throw in dharmas. The past is already extinguished, the future has not yet arrived, and the present is empty and still. There is no one who creates karma, and there is no one who resists retribution. This world does not move, and other worlds do not change. Among these things, what dharma can be called Brahma conduct? Where does Brahma conduct come from? To whom does Brahma conduct belong? Who or what is its substance? By whom is it created? Is it existent? Is it non-existent? Is it form? Is it non-form? Is it feeling? Is it non-feeling? Is it thinking? Is it non-thinking? Is it activities? Is it non-activities? Is it consciousness? Is it non-consciousness? Contemplating in this way, because Brahma conduct cannot be guarded, because the three periods of time are all empty and still, because one's mind has no grasping or attachment,
because one's mind has no obstructions,
because what one practices is non-dual, because of experience or self-mastery, because of receiving the Dharma or no mass, because of contemplating the Dharma or no mass, because of knowing that the Buddha and Dharmas are level and equal, because of endowment with all Buddha Dharmas, therefore it is called pure Brahma conduct. Moreover, one should cultivate 10 kinds of dharmas. What are the 10? They are the knowledge of what is and what is not the case, the knowledge of the karmic retributions in the past, present, and future, the knowledge of all dhyanas, liberations, and samadhis, the knowledge of all superior and inferior faculties, the knowledge of the various kinds of understandings, the knowledge of the various kinds of realms, the knowledge of where all paths lead, the knowledge of the unobstructed heavenly eye, the knowledge of the unobstructed penetration of past life, the knowledge of forever cutting off habitual energy. Each and every one of the Tathagata's 10 powers is to be contemplated. Within each power an unlimited meanings which must be investigated. After one has heard them, one must produce a mind of great kindness and compassion. One must contemplate all beings without renouncing or separating from them. One must consider all dharmas without resting. One must practice unsurpassed karma without seeking for rewards. One must completely understand that all states are like dreams, illusions, shadows, echoes, and all like transformations. If all bodhisattvas are in this way able to make contemplation interact with practice, and if within all dharmas they do not give rise to dual understanding, then all Buddha dharmas will quickly manifest before them. At the time of first bringing forth the mind, they right then obtain Antara Samyak Sambodhi. They know that all dharmas are just the self-nature of the mind. They accomplish the wisdom body and become enlightened not because of others.
End of chapter 16.
End of chapter 16. Namo Samanto Moto Nana Pola Di Hoda Jajan Anjimi Jimi Danda Gadana Mowa Sante Pola Di Udan Modan Modanda Gadana Mowa Hom Pansa Mo Samanto Moto Nana Pola Di Hoda Jajan Anjimi Jimi Danda Gadana Mowa Sante Pola Di Udan Modan Modanda Gadana Mowa Hom Pansa Namo Samanto Moto Nana Nami Anjimi Jimi Danda Gadana Mowa Sante Pola Di Udan Modan Modanda Gadana Mowa Hom Pansa. Praise for the third assembly. Seated beneath the Bodhi tree, he does not move yet ascends to the heavens. The Heaven King Chakra welcomes him from afar, with throne already perfectly arranged. The King of Enlightenment proclaims his sound, and the myriad existing things all hear it. We're going to do a special dedication of merit before we do the final dedication of merit. We dedicate the marriage to the May every living be our minds as one and radiance with light. Share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May the boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. 3 bows. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master.